Hey, good morning. Come on up and sit a spell with me. I spend a lot of mornings up here on this porch looking out. And it makes me think about porch sitting when we were little. It used to be an art. You had the grown folks up here on the rocking chairs and the kids on the steps. Sometimes they'd be running around catching lightning bugs and sometimes playing swinging statues, and sometimes we'd get real quiet on the steps so we could hear the grown folks talking about the latest gossip or what somebody did. Whenever I think about that porch sitting, it makes me think about my great grandpa. My daddy used to take us back to Tennessee to visit, and he sat on the porch that was high up on Cog Hill in his house, and it was probably 8-10 steps up to the porch. And us kids used to gather on those steps, listen to the folks talk, eat watermelon if Aunt Grovey gave it to us, and just listen to the world go by. I think sometimes we need to slow down and do that a little bit more. One such occasion, I was sitting on the porch and it was just me and Pop. I was on that top step. He was in the rocker behind me. Aunt Grovey and some of her girls were in the house working on projects. And I don't know what particular reason we ended up on the porch together, but I'll never forget it. He had a cane, and he used to sit in his old bib overalls. He was an old railroad man. And he'd just sit there looking out on the porch like what I'm doing now. And one day he poked me in the back. And he said, little girl, little girl. And he'd poke me in the back. And I'd turn around and I'd say, what, Pop? And he said, little girl, you go in that house and you tell Aunt Grovey I need a bologna sandwich. I don't think he ever knew what my name was. There were so many kids. He had 10 kids of his own and all the grandkids and the great-grandkids, so little girl sufficed. So I ran in the house and found my Aunt Grovey. Now, she was technically his second wife, but she was also my grandma's sister, so maybe someday I'll untangle that for you. And I said, Aunt Grovey, Pop said he needs a bologna sandwich. Well, I wasn't but about 7. She said, okay, well, you go out there and you tell Pop he needs to put his teeth in. And I thought, oh, no, okay. I walked out there and I said, now, Pop, Aunt Grovey said you have to put your teeth in if you're going to have a bologna sandwich. And he hollered back in that house and he said, woman, I didn't ask you that. I said, bring me a bologna sandwich. Well, I just figured I'm going to get out of the grown folks' business. And I sat down on that top step again. It took about a minute and a half, and Pop would poke me in the back. And he said, little girl. And I turned around, looked at him again, and said, what, Pop? And he reached into them bib overalls, and he pulled him out a pair of false teeth. He showed them to me, and he said, you see these right here? I ain't wearing them when I'm a living, and you best not put them in me when I'm dead. And he stuck them right back in them bib overalls. Well, she finally brought him his bologna sandwich, and the rest of the world went on. But I will never forget seeing those false teeth and listening to him on that porch. Those kind of memories just live on. And I figure somewhere up there he's sitting on the porch again, listening to the whistle of the train go by. We need to sit on the porch a little bit more.